What if everything you've learned to identify with was just a costume? Things like being a parent, your name, your job, your lifestyle choice, all these things, all these labels. What if it was just a costume? What happens when we take that costume off? Then what? Who are you then? This video, I'm going to talk about that and answer that question. So we'll cover the history of labels, the problem when we're purely living labels, who are we without these labels, and the solution. How can we live without being tied to these labels? As always, stay to the end to see how all this links with you and your family. See you on the other side. Welcome back to these teaching videos here on A Spiritual Life, where I help you, the parent, learn these mindfulness tools to teach and mirror to both your kids and your partner, so you can all live more consciously and connected as a family. If you're new here, my name's Carrie. I'm a mindfulness teacher, a home educating mum of 2 on a non-religious spiritual path. You're very welcome here. All right, let's talk labels. This video has been a long time coming. There are so many labels now, so many in this day and age, that we get caught up in them so much. We are them, and it almost has this hold on us. And there's always another label and another label, and we just slap it on and slap it on and slap it on until we don't know who we are. So let's dive in, and we'll start with the history of labels. So where did this start? When did we start having labels? You know, let's start right back at childhood. We come into this earth, into this world, and as this really conscious being, but we can't communicate. We are scared, we are vulnerable, we depend so much on our parents to keep us safe in the world. And then when we are able to communicate, we start asking questions. That curiosity that we talk about in mindfulness, kids already have it. So that curiosity sparks when we're able to talk, even before, because we can point and gesture and everything. But we look at the world differently. So as a child, we'll say, "What's this, mummy?" And we'll look at the beauty of a flower with curiosity and not as threat. You know, "What's this flower? What's this, mummy?" And we go, "It's a flower," and we move on. We give everything a label, everything a label. When we meet someone for the first time, what do you say to get to know them? So if you're in business and you go to networking events, or you're in a parents' event, environment, you know, a mum's group or parents, bad dad's group as well, whatever you're at, and someone asks you from the first time, they speak to you and they get to know you, what do they say? Where are you from? What do you do for a living? Do you have any family of your own? Are you married? This is creating labels. Why do we do this? We do this to compare and see if we feel threatened by that person. And it's used for physical safety reasons. Is my life being threatened? So that's how it would normally start back in the day. But now it's more about ego. So when we have these conversations with people now at a business event, we know we're not threatened by the environment, and we're likely not threatened by that person in a physical sense. But in an egotistical sense, am I better than you? Or do I feel not as good in comparison to you because of what you're telling me of who you are? So where you are, where you live, are you going to then judge that person for where they live? Are they a family man? Are they just, answers to all this, all these labels? Nowadays it's more ego rather than physical threat. But the history of it is basically as a threat. So when we're a kid, like that first example, we're not feeling in threat at all, we're just curious. The innocence of curious, compared to when we're an adult in this day and age, where we get into the ego. So there's a bit of a history as we go through life, as we've gone through evolving in the world as we are now as well. So where's the problem here? What's wrong with labels? What's wrong with having a label? Well, we become attached to them. And we see them often as being gospel. So attachment, I've done a whole other video on attachment. It's got its own video, it's that big. I will link it in the description and it'll be somewhere in the end as well. So do check that one out if you want to learn a bit more about attachment. I do recommend that one. But because what is wrong with being attached to a label? What's wrong with saying I'm a mum? There's nothing wrong with saying you're a mum. But is that all you are? Are you just that? No, you're not. We don't know who we are without them though. We get all consumed by them. That's where the problem is. When we get all consumed by them. So I'm a mum, I'm a homeowner, or, I've got to do all these jobs because that's my role in this family, is to do all these jobs, as parents particularly, whether you're in and out, whether you work out of the home and then come home, you've still got all that responsibility to deal with. So the labels get slapped on until we don't know who we are. That is the problem. That is the crux. I'll come on to who we are without them in a second, but let's just go through these labels. So your name. You're given a name at some point, maybe straight away, maybe you've already been given a name before you're born. That's your first label that's slapped on you. And then you might become a parent. Before that, you might be a sibling. You're a brother, you're a sister, you're a mum, you're a dad, you're an auntie, you're an uncle. I'm this job. Where you're from and your accent. So let's talk about that for a minute. Accents. So in England, we have lots of accents. And some might be seen as common, uneducated, just not a very nice accent that people don't like, people's judgment on that. And then you might have accents that sound posh. That might be a judgment. People might not see being posh or intellectual or whatever. Do you see the difference? We're just talking about an accent now. And do you see all the things to go with that label? So let's keep on this train of thought with accents. Have you ever tried to hide your accent? Why? You've got actors that have very thick accents, their own accent, but they change it for a role. That's fair enough, okay? You can understand that. But why do we do it? Do you have a telephone voice? Oh yes, and you speak more posh maybe. Do you do that? Have you done that? Why? Because if an accent is about who we are, why change it? But then that opens the can of worms, because all these can be changed. Your name can be changed. You can be a parent one day. Well, you might not be a parent one day. You might become a parent. You might not become a parent too. Now, it's a hard thing to think about and consider. But sometimes we end up not being a parent after being a parent. It's really sad. It really is. But it's a fact that can be a thing. And we go back into attachment then, don't we? Lifestyle choices. Smoker, non-smoker, meat eater, vegan, vegetarian. You're a runner, you're a fell walker, you're a swimmer, you're a golfer. You follow religion, you don't. Whatever that may be for you. So who are you without these labels? That's the crux of this. And the point of the matter is that all those things can be taken away, whether that's your choice and you're doing or not. Your accent, you can take that away if you choose to. You might be vegan and go back. So many people are doing that now. That happened to me, like this is really, really where I I'd already was aware of labels and everything, but this was one big one for me, because I was vegetarian from 2018, and I think it was 2021 I became vegan. And I'm not the best cook, so I don't really like to make meals, and I was finding I wasn't getting enough protein. I know you don't need actually to have as much as people think you need, but I was feeling that I needed more protein and I wasn't getting it. And a lot of my vegan friends were saying that they were eating eggs. And I was like, And they were like, yeah, well, we get it from a reliable source where we know they're looked after and we know what they're eating and things like this. I was like, all right, okay. So I started thinking about that, and I was like, oh, right, okay. And then I was like, well, my situation, that would be good for me to go back to eating eggs. And then I also started looking into, so this is it, when you're mindful, you open these kind of worms. I was looking into the butter, the spread I was using. And I'd heard many times, and a long time ago, that, spread is like 2 molecules away from being plastic. And that's one of the reasons I stopped eating fish, because of all the plastic in the ocean. We then eat the fish, we eat the plastic. That was one of the reasons I stopped eating fish. I don't want to eat plastic. So then here's me spreading this spread, which is practically plastic. I remember I burnt it in the pan once, some butter, and it went black and horrible, and it was horrible. And I was like, I don't want to eat that. So I started eating eggs, and I went to eat, because I knew where they were from, and I went to eat butter that was GMO friendly, no GMOs, and all this stuff, but only this specific butter. And if I went anywhere else, I still wouldn't eat butter, because I just wanted this particular one and these particular eggs. So when I'm at home, I will eat butter and eggs, these particular ones. When I'm out, I still say I'm vegan. So just because it's easier. And I was like, oh, well, I can't say I'm vegan then. I was like, so what? So what? And it was a revelation to say, so I'm not that label, so what? And then there's another example I can give you, is when I qualified to be a physiotherapist. And when I had my kids, I didn't go back to it, basically. And I ended up working in a supermarket. And that was a big thing about labels. I talk about this a bit more in my loss video. I've written down somewhere. I'll tell you at the end where to skip to, because it does talk about grief, but it talks about loss of identity as well in that same video. So that one's another one to look out for. But basically, when I worked in the supermarket, it was in the same town as I was a physio. And my first thought is, what if I see patients and colleagues, like, you know, I'm now just doing this job? Because that's the instinct that first comes. I know no one's better than anyone for whatever job they're doing, but that's how I felt. And I did see some people and I went bright red, and that's when I questioned it. That's when I said, well, I've just changed a uniform in a place of work. I'm still me. I'm not that job. I am not that job, because if I was that job, I would still be that job. And I'm not. I'm doing this job now. So I'm not that. And that was another kind of worms, to say I am not my job. I am more than my job. Take my job away, I am still me. So who is me? And that's when you start finding out, who am I underneath all these labels? So labels can be taken away, and then what? Whether it's your choice or not, you might lose your job. You might lose relationships. So you're a wife, you're a husband, you're a partner, you're a girlfriend, you're a boyfriend, that you break up. You're therefore not a girlfriend. I mean, that's one of the things, isn't it? Then you change your status on Facebook. You're now not in a relationship. That's a big deal. You're now not in a relationship. You're now not a partnership. You know, they went through that phase of saying it's complicated, so you're neither in a relationship or you're not. You know, like, you have to label every stage of life that you're at. Why? It's probably easier to tell people, like I said with the vegan, it's probably easier to just tell people you're vegan, because you mostly are. But then people find out you're not, and then they have a dig at you, you know? And it's like, damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because of these labels. So relationship breaks down, friends and family split up, you don't talk to, whatever. Like I said, omnivore to vegan and back. So many people are going back from being vegan now. And what about religion? You know, it's the same for religion. A lot of people are choosing religion now, they never had it, or going back to it, or leaving it, you know? So they can change. These labels can change all the time. So why are we so attached to them? That's my point. Because when you leave that label, or that label leaves you, you almost go through a grieving process. But if you've always got an idea of who you are, really and truly, not being those labels, who you are underneath it, you won't feel like that when these labels drop away. So who are you then? Out without these labels. You're a sovereign being. So this is from In 5D. A sovereign being, a French word for sovereign, meaning highest supreme chief. And this is from Julie Hogbin. The freedom to make your own choices based on your own beliefs, values and desires. That is key. This gives me the feeling that the label itself does not matter so much as our ever-changing values and beliefs do. This is where our focus needs to be. So the label itself does not matter so much as our ever-changing values and beliefs do. And this is where our focus needs to be. I'm going to talk a bit more about that now when we come into the next part. Before I do, I mentioned that loss video, but who are we without these labels? I mentioned values and beliefs. I have done another video on values and beliefs back on my old channel, which was 2018, on mind and body balance. So again, I'll link that in. There's a few videos that have mentioned these labels, which is why this is such a big topic to do. So the solution: how can we live without being so tied or attached to these labels? So, number one, curiosity. Take a leaf out of our children's book. Look with awe and curiosity, knowing everything about someone. No, look in awe without knowing everything about someone or something, without judgment on it, and without bringing ego in. Look at life in awe and curiosity. This magical world sounds more fun and interesting to me that way. Does it you? So let's delve into that. Look in awe without knowing everything about someone or something. Can we start to look at the world, the people in it, the things in it, without slapping labels on and judgments, and without bringing your ego in? Am I a threat? Is this person a threat to me? What's going on? And that sort of hyped up, hyper vigilant state, and the judgment that you then put onto it. Can't we look at it like our children do, in awe and amazement and curiosity? You know, if somebody is grumpy and a bit of an ass, they've probably got a reason for it. Something's probably gone on that you don't know about. So maybe let's not judge, you know. What's the definition of mindfulness? We should know this by now. To pay attention in the present moment without judgment. So, less judgment. If we're less judgmental on other people and things, we can therefore be less judgmental to ourselves as well. So it works both ways. The way we are and the way we look at the world and others is often the way we look at ourselves. So stop being judgmental of ourselves and stop being judgmental of the world around us. How do we do that? We allow, we accept, we are more curious. You know, if someone's a bit of an ass, is there something we can do to help them? They're having a bad day. It might be their character. They've had a bad 20 years because they haven't let something go in the past, and they've played that story and they've played the victim, and that's become the character. So can we just be accepting of that and just say, well, they haven't got these tools to work through it, where we have, or we are learning them. So number 1 is curiosity. Number 2, live to our ever-changing values and beliefs. So let's delve into that one. Do you even know what your values and beliefs are? Honestly, watch that video, the values and beliefs one. I did that in January, I think it was. Yeah, because it was a New Year's resolution video, 2020. So I did that right before everything happened. I was very positive in that video. I'm very keen to have 2020 start. So who knew? But check it out because it goes into this a lot more. But I am going to talk a little bit about it here. So live to our ever-changing values and beliefs. That's key. First off, do you even know what your values and beliefs are? Do you know the difference? So belief is what you believe to be true, what you personally believe to be true, and a value is what you live your life by. It's something you really value in your life. That is what we need to be living our life by. But with the caveat that we review them because they are ever changing. So going back to the vegan thing, I had a belief that I then didn't want. So I'll tell you how it happened, right? So in 2018, I was training to be a mindfulness teacher. And I got to the point where, you know, I came into mindfulness through the Buddhist approach, through meditation teachings through the Buddhist approach. And they kept talking about sentient beings and all that, you know, every life is precious. And as I'm learning more and more about this, I then started finding myself not wanting to kill a spider or a fly. And then I'd say, well, if I don't want to kill a spider or a fly, then how can I kill anything else? Therefore, how can I eat something else? And then I had this whole thing where I felt hypocritical if I did. And it didn't feel right for me. It didn't sit right for me to do that. And then I thought, well, you know, if I had to kill it, could I kill that animal? And I don't think I could. So then I felt hypocritical. So then I felt like I had to. Well, at that point, I think in 2018, I just went vegetarian because it was about killing the animal. And then in 21, I became vegan. So my values changed. So my values that, yes, I eat meat. Before that, I would eat meat. Then that changed. I wouldn't eat meat. Then that changed again to I'm now not going to eat any animal products because of my beliefs around it. And so that became a value in my life. So then it changed again to say, well, predominantly vegan, yes, but now I'm eating these products, so I technically aren't that label, but I'm still me. Pre-2018 to now, I've done that. And that's just the one label, that's just the dietary label. So the ever-changing values and beliefs, and if we're not mindful, if we're not reflective, if we don't review these, we're not going to be in tune with them when they're changing or when they need to change. So listen to your ever-changing values and beliefs and live your life to that, not the labels. And bringing your kids up that way too, but we're going to come on to family in a minute. Third, so that was number 2. So number 3 is non-attachment. So I've just put there fluid. Non-attachment, if we again look at that video to go into more depth. But non-attachment, it's not detached. You're not completely aloof and pushing everything away. You're not attached. You're not conditioned to have something a certain way and dependent on that. Non-attached is allowing fluidity. You know, at the moment, I am this. If you want to say you're a label, at the minute, or what I just said, at the minute I believe in this. This is my value. But I'm open to the fact of fluidity that it may change in the future. That's it in a nutshell. So I say all this, but I give you my tagline at the beginning. If you're new here, I'm Carrie, a mindfulness teacher, a home educating mum of 2, on a non-religious spiritual path. So you could say non-religious spiritual path. There's 5 things in one sentence to say who I am. They're all labels. I'm Carrie. Well, I'll tell you a story there. Apparently, I was called baby until I was 4 because my grandparents and my mother couldn't decide on what to call me, and then I ended up with 4 names. It's just a name. How many people change the name? How many people are changing the gender? How many people are changing all this? So your name doesn't mean anything. Carrie, home educating mum of 2. Well, I'm not always going to be a home educating mum of 2. So then what? That label gets swapped and replaced for something else. What was it? Home educating mum of 2. A mindfulness teacher. Well, I'll always be a mindfulness teacher and I'll always practice mindfulness because it's so invaluable for me. Will I always be teaching it? I hope so. Right now, I'd like to say yes because I love it so much, but I'm open, I'm fluid. That one might change. Non-religious spiritual path. I was never brought up religious. I'm not I have got no judgment over that. If you're religious, great. If you're not, you're not. Great. Either way. At the minute, I'm not religious. Who knows? Never say never. I was never having kids and getting married. And I did. because I really realised the belief that I had to make me think I didn't want to be married or with kids wasn't even my belief. So that's the importance of that number 2, the ever-changing values and beliefs. Are they even yours? Ask yourself that, because I got to 35 believing that I didn't want kids was my belief. So, before we move on to relate this to you and your family life, I do ask, if you've got something from this video so far, that you do everything for me to reciprocate that by sharing and subscribing. It helps me grow my channel, and I would very much appreciate it. Thank you. So, relate this to you and your family. Just 2 points I've got here. Show your family that you are someone other than a parent, a spouse, a cook, a cleaner, a shopper. You have feelings and desires that also matter. The buzzword, boundaries. So show your family that. It's hard. But if you don't, you end up living a bit of a life of resentment. And I got that. I mean, that's actually the reason why I ended up believing that belief was mine, because of the resentment my mum had about having Darren early, my brother, to, you don't have a life. Why didn't you go travelling? Why didn't you go to university? Because I had your brother. So I got passed down the emotion of resentment around having kids means you don't have a life. So I took that resentment as an emotion of resentment on me and believed it to be my truth that having kids meant no life. So it's really important that you, first of all, know who you are without the labels, who you are, what you like. Did you, when you start opening this can of worms, the questions are like, what did you like before you became a parent? Or what did you like in childhood? Do you still like it? If you don't know, try it out. I used to play badminton. Go and have a date night and play badminton. If you've got a kid-free night, if you manage to do that, go and play some badminton. Do you still enjoy it? Do you want to pick it back up again? Once a week, can you get some childcare for an hour and off you pop? Or join a group? Whatever. Find what lights you up. It might be something from your childhood. It might be something new. Drawing, arts, crafts, reading, cooking, baking, any of that stuff. But find something that lights you up again and helps you find you, because you're not always going to be that you're always going to be a parent. You're always going to be a hands-on parent until they leave the nest, and you'll therefore be still a parent when they leave the nest, but you'll then have more time, and then you're going to be doing this then anyway. Who am I now my kids have gone? Well, keep yourself there all the way through it, even just for a little bit, a day, once a week, once a month, something. You can find some time, 10 minutes of mindful colouring. It's great, mindful colouring, actually. So show your family that you are someone other than those things, and put boundaries in place. No, it's mummy's time now. I want to sit with my cup of tea for 10 minutes. It's mummy's time. I'm not being switched on right now. This is my time. And then the last one is to talk about personal and family values with each other. So this is key. This is something that should be taught in schools, really should be taught in schools. Talk about personal and family values with each other. Definitely with your spouse, What's your personal value? Where are your boundaries? And talk about it with your family. You know, if your kids are old enough to understand any of it, but you can also, you know, tailor it to where they're at in their age. Personal and family, it's different. What's your personal value? And what is your value? What are your values as a family? You've got to come together to make that and decide on that. And a good time to do that is the beginning of the year, whenever that is for you, because I always think New Year's resolutions and things like that shouldn't be in the depths of winter. It should be spring equinox is the new year. It's when everything flourishes. But whenever, you know, and it's not just once a year, you know, you at least want to reflect this maybe twice a year because of the ever-changing nature of them. But personal and family values. And that is it really. If any of that relates to you and your family, drop it in the comments. Question I've got for you to do just that, if you need a little bit of encouragement, is who are you without your labels? And can you find yourself again by looking into this a little bit more? So like I said, I've mentioned 4 videos. I can't put them all on here. So what I'm going to do is probably put my mindfulness playlist up on here, which you can find 3 of the videos, the non-attachment, loss, and if you go onto the loss video and skip, if you just want this bit on identity, skip, if you don't want the grief bit, you can skip to 17 minutes 50 seconds and that will take you to the bit about identity. And there's also on that playlist one about judgment. So I've mentioned all 3 of them in this video. And then I also mentioned the values and beliefs video from Mind and Body Balance. So I'll probably link that one in the playlist as well. But if you want the links directly, I will put them in the description box to make it all easier for you. But do check them out because it all makes sense. And that's why this video was really needed, because it's been mentioned so much. So I hope they're beneficial to you. That's what I've got for you. Thanks for watching. Much love. Bye for now.